here, and you kind of have a little bit of the handle a little high, and it's a little underplane. You're still going to struggle a little bit with. Now you do get it really left here, so that's like you tip it around. You tip it around in time most of the time, but when it doesn't and it's underplane, then it comes in a little bit under, and the face is a little open. Kind of feels a little maybe, blocky or maybe a little fat at times. Or it flips over a little too much and maybe it hooks too much, right? And I'm not saying you need to play a fade by any stretch. What I am saying is it's that little dump under cross move right here that we want to still try to get rid of. And looking at it, you can look at it kind of one of two ways. As it lowers in right through here, we have to kind of get a better feeling of how to not let it dump under. So there's a place where you've got to be more aggressive with getting your upper body to turn in and keeping the shaft on the line stronger. Now, what we could also talk a little bit about is if you did get, this could be really good on if you do it well, but if you don't, then it would dump under too much. But the benefit is that it would allow you to kind of do it a little bit sooner. But with where your natural arm position is relative to the plane, so like the height of it, I wouldn't call it like crazy high. There's players that are that high, but you do have to like drop and lower it more. So you got to like come down, come down, come down, come down, come down. Now the club gets on, the top of the club gets on the line. Hands are a little bit above. You'll see that with players. But if we got your arms like a fraction lower, that elbow would be down a little more, then it would hit the line sooner, and the sooner it hits the line in the downswing, the harder you turn sooner. So you don't have to like feel like you're dropping it as much. So we can kind of attack it kind of one of two ways. We can either kind of like see what the feeling is kind of halfway down and not jack with the backswing much. But I still think in the backswing, you still need to try to get it a little bit more compact and down. That little crisscross move, although you recover it around, so it's not like you take it and fling it way out. You recover it, but I still think it's the danger move. I saw a little bit of it with wedges too. It's that little bit of crisscross move that makes your path, I think, a little. There's a couple things that's going to help shorten it. One, obviously, just rehearsing shortening it, and then two, the other thing I think I'd like to see a little bit is when you go back, the hips. It's kind of a different topic, but your hips are getting a little too spinny. So they're getting too, let me get back to me there. They're getting a little too reversey. So when you go back, I want you just to feel like your right hip is not, it's not really going around that much, right? It's kind of, everything's just kind of staying right here. Okay, do that one more time. There you go. Because from there, you have a little more room to do this. When you get too spinny, everything kind of gets jumpy that way too much. There you go. There you go. Like around in that, right there.
Is that good where it's higher? That's easy more.
I mean, that's okay. Like what I'd like to see right here is a little shift into your right leg, which I see, and everything kind of shorter and a little more stacked. When I think you get kind of a little more discombobulated, you get kind of too spinny early with the hips. The hips kind of get done with everything, and you just have a lot of lift after that. So they kind of look like this.
Yeah.
As opposed to kind of more solid load, shorter. Kind of on an exit plane, if you will. You see how, okay, so that is the elbow plane. That's the elbow plane on the right. We're a little lower, which is nice on the left. It's in the drill, but you'd love to be there for you. It's a little under here, but that's okay. But the big piece here that I also want to make sure we're doing, you see how the elbow's hitting the line there versus it's high here? That's a return back to the arm plane. Okay, so that's an indication that your chest and arms
Disconnected.
Are moving together.
we're matched up on this side and this side really well, and it wasn't as high, right? And that feeling of the, like when you're really talking, getting the arms back on plane and how well the chest is moving, to kind of have that, like this is pretty good. It can be like a fraction lower, but if I'm drawing an elbow plane line, I like it to dissect right at the crease of the arm, so pretty close to where that is. That would be a little high in my preference, but there's so many tour players that are there that lower it back in. But what you can see is that it hits the line sooner on the left. Now, because it hits the line sooner, in theory, if you came down on this line and you didn't do any like later dump, you'd be high, it'd be okay, but it would be like a bigger fade, like it'd be like a freaking 3-degree fade, 4-degree fade, so you don't want that. So you have to dump it in later, which you do, and you find the plane a little bit later on the right, but that little bit later, you get a little tilt with it, and that's the one that kind of gets dicey through the bottom. So even though this is a little bit draw plane here, as you get the arms cranking more, and you can see how the arms got a little bit closer to the plane line, they're high there. So that's gonna allow everything to feel like the chest and everything around in the corner harder, and the arm plane connected better. So you don't get this kind of like high, long look to your finish. Does that make sense? So when you're talking really plain, you're trying to match up, not just here, you're trying to match up here better too. Okay. A little more of like a 3/4 finish, but with that same backswing, same full backswing. Come around with the right leg now. Okay, good. One thing, especially with all your short irons, I want you to tighten up the finish too. When you make that reversal, show me the arm lower and show me the wrist a little flatter. Okay. There you go. Now from there, hit it hard with your body, upper body. There you go. Now from there, let it go, but shorten the finish. That was pretty good. Your upper body just hung back a little bit. Same deal. Because sometimes I think when you're trying to get your upper body up to it, it's kind of in your mind that it looks like you're trying to like drag it more. And then the drag kind of gets under and then it gets kind of flingy. It's not that. It's turn into it. You're gonna feel like you're letting it go and just stop and make shorter. Okay. Now let me see that with a little more fadey feel. Okay. But go ahead, yeah, do it again. Go ahead and let it go. So it's not steered. Okay? It's compact, but it's not like it's steered. I like that finish better there. So it doesn't mean you're like, unless you're hitting a knockout shot, it doesn't mean you're not gonna feel a release to the club. Okay. In fact, the opposite. You're gonna feel like you're turning into it, and you're gonna let it go, and then you're just gonna stop it short. Okay. So it's kind of more of like a let go and stop shorter. Not necessarily like you're trying to drag and steer it. Okay? Let's see one where you feel that. A little lower. Yeah, but also kind of like a little lower and deeper with the right shoulder. So the arms are going to feel lower. And then what it feels like is that your right side, right shoulder going right towards the ball, and that it's going to allow the hands to kind of tuck left. Okay? So it's this kind of combination of your right shoulders going towards the ball, and the hands are going left through impact. Do it again. Once we can get the path now. It's kind of like, and again, I think you need to do this one. Go ahead and do this one again. Do that right foot back, bro. Will you show me like you can widen up the stance a little bit. Show me kind of like a compact, show me the back swing, kind of compact. Okay, now from there, your right shoulder's turning into the ball, kind of along the feet. And then your arms are connected. There you go. So you kind of have this, what we call crisscross feel to it. Now it's this kind of shoulder to the ball, arms left and connected. See, I've always thought that when she does that drill, kind of the combo of how all that works, because it gets her upper body. It kind of takes a lot of this out, okay, and it gets her upper body turning into it, and then it kind of turns the corner and puts the brakes on with kind of that little fold. That combination, she can hit green, every green with. If it's that shot, that's just because
I didn't turn.
that gets lost underneath. Yeah. You put that right foot a little more on the ground. Okay. Okay. I want you to feel like you're never going to let it kind of lower too much. You're just going to turn into it. Okay. Yeah. So it feels like it's like tucked and shorter, and then you're slamming the door. Exactly. Build a plane angle.
Yeah.
That would force her to be a little lower and more compact. So that helps her get it not just shorter, but kind of a little deeper.
Yeah. I like that better.
Yeah, this is a better angle for her. Yeah, do that one more time. So so I'll give you a little more.
And that'll make sure that wrist.
Yeah, and even if that gets a little flat and exaggerated in rehearsal, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that flat.
Right, yeah. And so, do a rehearsal real quick so you know what this is. Yeah, so it's very compactish. So, yeah, it feels very much like that. Bring it back to you. So short is going to feel. But low too. Like all of your flighted shots, which I'm going to call wedges for sure, and let's say a lot of your 3/4 irons that you're hitting in the greens need to feel like that. Need to feel like your arms are lower and shorter in the backswing, so they don't have to drop down as much. And then from there, it needs to feel like, do that again, I'll let you go a little further back, but keep them lower and around more. Okay? And then from there, it needs to feel like you're trying to just turn the corner and stay on the ground. Sorry, that's my fault. Take it out. Okay. So 2.4. That's fine. This whole time, I don't want it to necessarily feel like you aren't using your legs, but I want your feet on the ground when you're doing this compact fade. to be armsy. We've got to get the arms moving at a rate that as I come through, I can stabilize it with the pivot. So it's not like the arms are trying to like take over past the ball. It's that but we're also not like dragging the pivot and leaving this behind. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this part is trying to catch up, so then I can tie the turn in to put the brakes on, and then the core can put the brakes on. So the arm speed that I'm talking about is actually like prior to impact,
Yeah.
catching up so it matches the turn. Long, allowing ourselves to get too jumpy and too high with the handle. Okay.